So this is a training to help you understand what drives Facebook's performance. First, any opportunity that you can get when you're on the train, if you're at a doctor's appointment or you're sitting at the DMV, pay attention to how people are scrolling their feeds on social. When you look around, you're going to see that everybody, when I was living in New York and I would, sit at the train, everybody would either have Instagram, Facebook, or WhatsApp open. All three of those products are owned by Facebook. And if you ever just watch how they scroll their feed, including watch IG stories and how fast they're scrolling through or tapping through stories, you're gonna get a lot of insight on just how quickly people make the decision, which is like a microsecond, to move on to the next thing on their feed. And what most people are doing is they're scanning. And so you'll see that they'll scroll and then they'll stop and they'll sort of like go back. There's two types of people. They scroll until something catches their eye, they stop and they scroll back, or they go one by one per post. It'll give you a lot of insight, and I really encourage you guys to start paying attention to how other people consume visual consumption on their social media platforms. Now, I'm gonna go over the basics of media buying through Facebook's algorithm. The most valuable real estate for ad buying through Facebook feed or Instagram feed is definitely going to be the first ad that shows up on their feed. That is the most valuable real estate, and that's where a lot of the top competitors are actually vying for that spot. Now, whoever gets that spot is actually the one who is driving the most engagement for that particular user or audience. A lot of times what ends up at the top of the feed is what we call it, are retargeting ads. So Facebook's sole interest is to make the platform as engaging as possible. They want to keep their users addicted. Mark Zuckerberg's philosophy is he wants to make products that people love over money. So that means that advertisers actually are at the bottom of the totem pole. When you actually get hired at Instagram, it's very apparent and known that the advertising department is sort of like at the bottom of their hierarchy. Everybody wants to work on those products that are more innovative and exciting and trying to think of the next new thing. In general, advertisers are just at the bottom of the totem pole. But what Facebook is most interested in is that you're creating ads that the users are really engaged with. Now, what do users engage with? There's two types. And if you combine both of them, it actually makes a very powerful ad. So two types of Facebook ads. One is where you show a strong before after. If you think about the home shopping network or infomercials that display what a product does and see the transformation, that's usually a 10-minute commercial or a 10-minute infomercial. They're using long-standing marketing principles. But the thing is that the platform is changing. So you can't show a 10-minute infomercial on feed. You actually only have 5 seconds to 30 seconds to show people what transformation your product does. Every single user is on a journey for personal transformation. Every single one of them. So we're not really selling products, we're selling transformation. And the more that you can display that transformation, the better. There's very small things that translate into what we call conversion-driven principles. Conversion-driven principles are about capturing the attention of the user. Now, your very first job is to capture the attention on that first scroll as they scan, and that's really the first second. So your first second, whether that's the opening frame of the creative, or if they look at who posted it, or if they look at the first body text, which is the text above the ad or below the ad on IG feed, that's the most important thumb stopper. And you really want to spend a lot of time testing what variations of the first opening frames people are going to respond to. Now, the sequence of testing inside creatives is going to be your angle, and your overarching angle has to be something that people can very much relate to. I'll give you an example. UGC style, front-facing, selfie video type of ad is what is very engaging because it's native to the feed.
Yo, my hair feels so good.
Guys, honestly, I am in shock.
Like, it's super defined right now.
It means that it doesn't really look like an ad. And that is a really important component of the style of your advertisement. And UGC, by the way, stands for user-generated content. So you want to experiment with different opening frames. You want to experiment with different type of native looking ads. User-generated content is just one of them that says a very authentic experience about the product. Authentic means just that. The more that you encourage the person who's creating that UGC to just talk very honestly about the product. So if, let's say, they open or unbox and they're surprised about what they see, the surprise needs to be as authentic looking as possible. It can't be like, wow, that's fake, right? Like, everybody's gonna know that's an ad. But if you open something and you're like, whoa, what? This is actually, I'm surprised. I was skeptical at first, but these actually feel a lot more like weight on it, but it doesn't really seem like anything is really on my head and it's not messing up my hair. Wow, I'm actually shocked by this. It's as if they're talking to a friend. So that's really how you want to frame some of these native looking ads. And I want to also let you know that the customer journey is about, you want to hook them in the first second, i.e. stop the thumb. Then you want your next 2 seconds to be so engaging or pulls in their curiosity that they want to watch the next 3 seconds. And that next 3 seconds, the whole purpose of those 3 seconds is to get them to watch the next 3 seconds. And people make decisions very quickly. So you want to basically keep engaging them. Now, while they're looking at your ad, your competitor is not, for example, if you're a skincare company, your competitor is not another skincare company. Your competitor is anything that takes them away on their screen from looking at your ad. And there are multiple things from that. So that could be Instagram, you know, the little banner that comes down and says, you have a new follower. That is your competition, because if it's as strong as you have a new follower, they're going to get distracted from looking at your ad and they're going to click on that because they want to see who followed them. Another thing is a text message from your girlfriend or your husband, or the baby crying, because most people are consuming social during a downtime, during their passive time, where there's something coming up. For example, when you wake up in the morning, people usually scroll their Facebook or their Instagram feed for about 1 minute. And what's waiting for them is that they have to go to work, or they have to walk the dog, or they have to get the kids ready. So again, your competition is anything else in their life that is vying for that attention, because attention is the most valuable currency when you're presenting an ad on the social feed. Another point that I want to talk about is Facebook's algorithm. Facebook has one of the most powerful, accurate algorithms that are out there. For me, when I started my YouTube, Facebook knew that I had started my YouTube channel and was all of a sudden serving me products on my feed that was about content creation. So gear for creating content, for example. And that's just how accurate they are. Me telling people on my Facebook feed, hey, go on my YouTube channel. It's me messaging my brother to let him know that I started one. All of those things are indicators that triggers Facebook algorithm to serve that advertiser's ad. Basically, the combination of Facebook's algorithm being so powerful and also you do the work of serving an ad that engages the user, Facebook will reward you with a low CPM. The more that you work towards operating under Facebook's best interest, which is to keep the user engaged, to keep the user addicted to their platforms, the more that Facebook will reward you. So for example, they'll give you a bigger reach for a cheaper cost per 1,000 impressions. That's something that we have tested and tracked. Then if you're not doing that and you're putting out very poor performing creatives, Facebook will give you a high cost per 1,000 impressions, which translates into a more expensive visit to your website, or it translates into a more expensive cost per website visitor for you. So this is the basics of creatives and social ads. I want to emphasize that because people make decisions very quickly on these platforms, and I'm talking about milliseconds, it is very important that you experiment with things like bigger text. For example, if you're going to do overlay text, it's important to experiment with the size formats. Does 9:16 work? Does 1:1 work against that same creative? Does the opening question have acne, or the opening line being have cystic acne? So testing those small nuances for the opening frames and then the following first 3 seconds. And you have to literally test a lot of nuances that you wouldn't think make an impact, but they actually do. So this is why it's important for you to put up as much volume as possible that your budget can afford. And you want to be very smart about it. You don't want to be haphazard with the budget, for example. You want to be methodical with your testing. And again, the most important part that you want to test after you have developed an angle that you feel is working is to test those first 3 seconds. It's very, very imperative. So that is the basics of Facebook and Instagram ads. I will see you in the next training.